Which finding, if true, would most directly support the researcher's conclusion? Let's read the passage. Over time, marine mollusks called nautils continually add segments to their shells, and the chemical composition of each segment is influenced by the available materials in the surrounding water when the segment forms. Paleontologist Amina Tajika and colleagues analyzed the septa, walls between shell chambers, of one male samples labeled M and one female samples labeled F. Noted, finding that sample M6 had the same concentration of oxygen 18 as did water at approximately 120 meters deep, and that the oxygen 18 concentration is sample F14 matched that of water at approximately 385 meters deep. So guys, what they are saying is sample 6, that's the male, had the same oxygen 18 level as water at 120 meters deep. And sample 14, that's the female, matched water at approximately 385 meters deep. Because every depth of the water has different levels of oxygen concentrations. Their concentration is different. Okay. Tajike and others concluded that sample M6 formed at a higher point in the water column than did F14. What they concluded is male mollusk formed at a higher point in the water column than did F14. If their concentration is level oxygen if their oxygen 18 level is different, and if they match it in different depths of the ocean, then we can conclude that there can be a two main factor that causing that difference. One of them could be their depth, and one of them could be their gender. Because if their depth is different, then obviously they take different kinds of different amounts of oxygen, and their oxygen will be different. But if their gender is different, then we can conclude that their gender plays a role uh, regarding how much oxygen they take in, right? Uh, in other words, they are just assuming that oxygen 18 in the shell reflects the depth of the water. Yeah. And that's the key part. They concluded M6 formed at a higher point in the water than did F14, which means depth plays a role. Depth, they are saying depth is important, but they are saying gender is not important because they don't talk about gender, and we cannot conclude anything about their gender, right? That's why gender is not important. Let's read the A option. In Nautilus, 6 predicts septic growth rate more strongly than does oxygen 18 concentration in the surrounding water. We don't have anything about their growth rate. That's why it's totally off topic. And A is out. B, regardless of sex, that's true because we are excluding their sex. We don't care about their gender, we care about their depth because that's the main role, that's the main part. Nautilus spend most of their lives at depths of 50 meters or greater, where oxygen 18 concentrations typically differ from those higher in the water column. Guys, that's just their behavior, that's just a fact, but it's not supporting their conclusion. That's why it cannot be an option. C. Male nautils tend to show higher concentrations of oxygen 18 than do female nautils, inhibiting the same point in the water column. So the option is saying if their depth is same, for example, imagine male and female are both in the 200 meters depth, but their oxygen level is different because of their gender. Because male and female, they have different oxygen levels. But what we did before, we excluded their gender. We don't care about their gender. That's why C is totally contradicting the passage. Okay, D option. Among nautils, there's no effect of sex. That's right. they told you there's no effect of sex on the uptake of oxygen 18 from the water or its deposition in septa. That's right. It's supporting their conclusion because as I told you, they have two main factors: their depth and their gender. If we exclude their gender, then we have only one factor. It's also their depth. That's why D is matching and it's correct answer.